February 2021. A hospital in Glasgow, Scotland. Doctors rush through the corridor as a man gasps for air, struggling against the grip of COVID-19. He's on oxygen, barely able to speak. His name, he says, is Arthur Knight, an Irish orphan who grew up in Dublin. But this man isn't who he claims to be. What the staff don't yet know is that this patient is actually Nicholas Rossi, a fugitive from the United States who faked his own death years ago to escape rape charges. And soon, his web of lies would unravel in front of the entire world. Nicholas Alaverdian was born in Rhode Island in 1987. He grew up in foster care, bouncing between homes and group facilities. By his teenage years, he was outspoken about child welfare reform, even claiming to be a victim of abuse within the system. He was intelligent, articulate, and ambitious. In his 20s, Nicholas reinvented himself as a self-styled activist, lobbying lawmakers, appearing on local TV, and calling for better treatment of foster children. But behind the passionate speeches, something darker was brewing. Former friends described him as manipulative, controlling, someone who used charm as a weapon. And in 2008, that darkness took a violent turn. September 2008, Orem, Utah, a young woman who had met Nicholas through an online personal ad, visits his apartment. She's there to collect money he owes her. Money she says he manipulated from her while she was recovering from a traumatic brain injury. What happens next would haunt her for years. She says Nicholas trapped her, forced himself on her, and left her terrified and humiliated. She reported the assault, but the case went cold. Rape kits sat untested for over a decade, gathering dust in evidence rooms. Nicholas left Utah soon after, and by the time investigators began connecting the dots, he was gone. Over the next decade, Nicholas Alaverdian became a man of many names. He called himself Nicholas Brown, then Nicholas Rossi, then Arthur Knight. He moved across states, married more than once, and left a trail of unpaid debts and broken relationships. Voice over a woman's testimony. He was charming at first, one ex-wife said, but soon the mask slipped. He isolated me, controlled everything, and made me feel like I was losing my mind. The charm that once opened doors now closed them, as his reputation soured. By 2018, a new chapter of his life began, one that would expose everything. In 2018, Utah authorities began retesting old rape kits as part of a statewide backlog project. When one kit was entered into the National DNA Database, a match appeared. It was Nicholas Rossi. Investigators were stunned. Rossi had no known address, no record of recent activity. It was as if he disappeared from the face of the earth. Then came the obituary. In February 2020, a message appeared on his website. Nicholas Alaverdian passed away after a courageous battle with non-Hodgkin lymphoma. The post described his ashes being scattered at sea, and tributes poured in. Politicians and journalists who once knew him offered condolences, but something felt off. Reporters noticed inconsistencies in the obituary. There was no death certificate, no hospital record, no funeral. It was all a lie. Nicholas Rossi had faked his own death and fled the country under the name Arthur Knight. Nicholas resurfaced in Scotland. He told neighbors he was an Irish orphan who'd grown up in Dublin. He wore large glasses, spoke in a thick British accent, and used a wheelchair. He claimed he'd been paralyzed after contracting COVID-19, but it was all theater, an elaborate act to conceal who he really was. Then, in December 2021, while being treated for COVID at a Glasgow hospital, his story began to crumble. Nurses recognized tattoos matching those of the wanted American fugitive. They called police. Within hours, authorities confirmed the truth. Arthur Knight was Nicholas Rossi. He was arrested on the spot. For nearly 2 years, Nicholas Rossi fought extradition to the United States. He insisted he was being mistaken for someone else, claiming U.S. agents had framed him and altered his fingerprints. "This man you accuse me of being, I am not Nicholas Rossi," he told the judge, his voice shaking with outrage. He even spoke in a fabricated accent, at times coughing dramatically or wheeling himself in a hospital chair. But the evidence was overwhelming. Fingerprints, DNA, tattoos. The illusion shattered. In January 2024, after countless hearings and delays, Nicholas Rossi was extradited to Utah. In August 2025, Nicholas Rossi stood trial for the rape he committed back in 2008. The victim, now an adult, facing for the first time in over 15 years. Her testimony was clear, emotional, and devastating. He stole my dignity, my safety, my peace, and he thought he could escape justice forever. But justice doesn't forget. Forensic experts presented DNA evidence. Investigators traced his aliases and movements across continents. The jury took less than a day. Verdict, guilty. Nicholas Rossi is a serial abuser of women. He is the very definition of a flight risk. The court sentences him to a term of 5 years to life in a Utah state prison. Rossi showed no remorse. He called the verdict a miscarriage of justice, even claiming once again that he was someone else. But this time, no one believed him. A second rape trial awaits him. Another survivor, another story. For prosecutors, this isn't just about punishment. It's about closure. For those who waited years for their voices to be heard. This is not a plea for vengeance, she said. This is a plea for safety, for recognition, and for truth. Nicholas Rossi spent his life pretending to be the hero of his own story, a survivor, an activist, a reformer. But beneath the surface, he was running from who he truly was, a predator, a manipulator, a man terrified of accountability. He believed he could outsmart the system, outwit the law, and rewrite his own ending. But no matter how many names he chose, or how many lives he lived, the truth was always there, waiting. In the end, it wasn't an investigator or detective who caught Nicholas Rossi. It was a nurse noticing the wrong tattoo on the wrong man. And from that single observation, the whole illusion fell apart. Nicholas Rossi once said he wanted to be remembered as a voice for justice. But in the end, he became a symbol of deceit, a man who faked his own death to avoid the truth, only to be exposed by it. And for his victims, the verdict wasn't just a sentence. It was a long-awaited whisper of peace. Because sometimes justice takes years. But when it comes, it speaks louder than any lie. Nicholas Rossi was sentenced to a term of 5 years to life in October 2025. He faces further charges in connection with additional sexual assaults. This documentary is dedicated to survivors who never stopped fighting for justice. No matter how far someone runs, how many names they change, or how many lies they build around themselves, the truth always finds a way back. Don't forget to like and subscribe to this channel for more true crime story.